Well, this was to be expected. Gothic 2 just got announced on Nintendo Switch, and it's coming out on November 29th, which is a lot sooner than I expected it to see, to be honest, because we just had Gothic 1 on Switch, like 15 days ago or something like that. Hello and welcome to my second channel, where I talk about random topics that I find interesting. For those of you who don't have a clue who I am, I'm C4G from Click for Gameplay, where I talk about RPGs, action adventures, and I have some ongoing series on the channel that you can check out if you're new in general. And if you're not, if you're coming from Click for Gameplay, well, welcome. Now, this wasn't a big surprise because if you remember, the first time we ever got something about Gothic on Switch was not about Gothic 1 on Switch, it was about Gothic 2 running on Nintendo Switch in handheld mode. So we knew it was coming eventually, but we didn't know when. So now we got the official release date for Gothic 2 on Switch, and it's 29th November. You can even pre-order it on Nintendo Store. I don't advise you to do that because I never encourage pre-ordering in general, even when it comes to like my favorite RPG ever. So take that as you will, but we're going to talk about what to expect from this port on Nintendo Switch, and we're going to do some comparisons between Gothic 1 on Switch, all the good stuff and the bad stuff we know so far about it. First of all, let's talk about the price a little bit. It's going to be priced exactly the same like Gothic 1 on Switch, which is 30 euros, and I'm assuming that's like $30 as well for the US store, but I'm not exactly sure. Some people had a problem with this price because they thought it's a bit too high for a 20-year-old game, and I would certainly agree with that. Although, when you think about it, it's not a very lazy port. To be honest, the first time I saw the leak for Gothic 1 on Switch, I thought it's going to be a lazy port. Luckily, I was wrong, because Gothic 1 on Switch had some notable improvements. But then again, 20 euros would be a more realistic price if you ask me, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree. And now we know that the Gothic 2 on Switch will have that same price tag as well, so take it or leave it, I guess. However, the announcement for Gothic 1 on Switch wasn't without a slight controversy, I guess, because that trailer included the footage from PC, so Gothic 1 was running on PC with the mod for the DirectX 11, which was kinda stupid because the end product on Nintendo Switch is not running on DirectX 11 because, judging by some people from THQ Nordic, they couldn't get it running, but they just released that trailer anyway. You could say that's a false advertising, definitely, and that's not okay by any stretch of imagination. This was definitely a bit scummy from THQ because it's false advertising, there's no point beating around the bush, right? That trailer shows Gothic 1 running on PC and not on Switch, even with that DirectX 11 mod. The thing is, they were convinced they're going to implement that DirectX 11 support on Nintendo Switch version as well, which didn't end up happening. But then we came to Gothic 2 announcement trailer on Switch, and this trailer also has some suspicious scenes like the one you see on the screen now. I'm willing to bet that this particular scene is not captured on the Switch. As for other gameplay footage here, who knows, but I wouldn't be surprised if this footage was also recorded on PC. If that's true, if this footage is not from a Switch version of the game, that would also mean that THQ didn't learn their lesson from the previous trailer, or they just simply don't care, because they know that Gothic fans and pretty much everyone who's interested into trying this old RPG on Switch won't care about this. It's just a minor fraction of the fan base who is complaining. You know, you can't lie to your audience like that, especially if you have a brand new game coming out. It's not exactly a brand new game, it's a remake of the original Gothic, but still, this situation can only make the Gothic Remake situation a bit more worse for absolutely no reason, because like I said, people would buy the game regardless, even if it was one-to-one port on Switch and not a Switch port with some improvements, right? So this whole situation was just totally unnecessary. However, despite that, Gothic 1 on Switch had some notable graphical improvements, like increased sharpness, a much better scaling of UI elements, and it has maxed out view range like on the PC when you push the slider to 300%. But other than that, it looked very similar to the PC version. Although, like I said in my first video of my first impressions for Gothic 1 on Switch, I would rather play Gothic 1 on Switch natively, vanilla version, than vanilla version on the PC. But if I'm going to mod the game, like of course I'm gonna go with PC version, that's a no-brainer, because you can make Gothic 1 look amazing with mods on the PC, but the most convenient way to play Gothic 1 without any mods nowadays would be the Nintendo Switch version, hands down, because of the improved controls and those slight graphical improvements. But we also have bugs and performance issues I want to talk about. My biggest fear for Gothic 2 on Switch will be the performance and the bugs, because as we can tell already from Gothic 1 on Switch, it doesn't exactly run at luck 60 FPS. We had a huge list of improvements for Gothic 1 on Switch, but we also had some brand new bugs. Goblin AI being completely bugged, black goblins to be more precise, and I streamed the game a couple of times on Switch already on my main channel, so you can check that out, and I encountered this bug live on stream. But we also have some news about a new patch for Gothic 1 that's going to come out during this week, which is going to improve the performance a little bit. But just in general, I think the Gothic 1 on Switch port was very good, despite all of those issues I mentioned. You have a very convenient controls, some slight improvements, and like I said, it's probably the most convenient way to play Gothic nowadays if you don't wanna mod it on PC. Overall, I think that THQ does a very good job at keeping the fans of this legendary RPG IP engaged. I think they paced out these re-releases, I guess, for the Switch quite nicely, because it gives you something to do and think about while you're waiting for the Gothic remake. Piranhabytes could never do something similar on its own because they're a very small studio who can only afford to focus on one title at a time, so we got these huge gaps between games. We barely got any info about new titles and stuff like that, so I'm really glad that THQ is doing their best to keep the fans of this series engaged before they get something big like Gothic Remake. However, on the other side, I'm still waiting to see that gameplay for the Gothic remake, because even though that in-game engine trailer was amazing, I'm still trying to keep my hype levels somewhat normal until we actually see the gameplay, because all we know is that the whole prototype we saw in 2019, the playable teaser, was completely scrapped, so people didn't like it. They took that feedback seriously, and we're getting something entirely new. We're still waiting to see some actual footage of the gameplay, and when that happens, which will hopefully be soon, because there are some speculations about the release date of the Gothic remake. Maybe it's coming out late 2024, early 2025, something like that. So if that's actually the case, we can expect to see some gameplay very soon. If not at the end of this year, probably at the beginning of 2024. But those are just my pure speculations and wishful thinking, I guess, although it's not too far away from the truth if you think about it logically. That would be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe, because this is my brand new channel where I'm talking about random gaming topics that interest me the most, I guess. And surprise, surprise, I'm talking about Gothic again. There you go. But I also have a couple of more videos where I talked about some upcoming games, so you can check that out. And I'll try to be more active on this channel whenever I can, so be sure to subscribe. And if you're interested in Gothic, I also started a brand new playthrough on my main channel, so if you just stumble upon this video randomly on YouTube, yeah, I also have a main channel called Click for Gameplay, where I talk about RPGs, where I make RPG reviews, previews, and a couple of ongoing series which are related to action RPGs and action adventures, so be sure to subscribe.